Dr. Julie Gauthier, I can hear you fine. Thank you for joining me on the Valder Beebe Show today. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm having a wonderful day, and it just got a little bit better. You're here to talk about something we haven't visited in a while, and maybe we're out of touch. Bird flu.
That's right.
Tell us about that. What do we need to know?
Well, bird flu, or highly pathogenic avian influenza virus, it's carried by wild migratory birds, often wild ducks, and they can carry this virus without showing any signs of disease. But the virus is lethal to domestic poultry, and it could kill most of the flock in just a few days. The really bad part about this virus is that there isn't any treatment. Once a chicken's infected with avian influenza virus, there's no cure. So we've really got to focus on preventing infection in the first place.
Dr. I want my audience to know that Dr. Julie Gauthier is the Assistant Director of Poultry Health and Veterinary Medicine. She's a veterinary medical officer at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Dr. Gauthier, why is it so important for, we'll say, domestic American farmers to keep their flock safe from, I guess, these wild birds?
Yeah, that's right. These wild birds will bring the virus to the place where the poultry are kept, and if the virus gets into the poultry flock, then most of the flock will die within just a matter of a few days. It's highly lethal infection in domestic poultry, and we can't do much about it once the flock is infected. We've got to prevent the infection, and there's some things that we can do to prevent the virus from getting into those domestic flocks. First, don't allow poultry to visit outdoor ponds or other open water sources where wild ducks that carry the virus and other wild birds can gather. Wild birds, along with their feathers and their nests and their droppings, can spread the virus to our domestic poultry flocks. So it's really important to keep our birds separate from the rest of the property, and use only one entry and exit into the area where the birds are kept. Screen that area, look regularly for any signs of wild bird activity, things like droppings or feathers and nests, and then remove those right away, remove those promptly from the area. And pay close attention to the entryways where people and vehicles enter the area where the birds are kept, so that they're not tracking in it's like droppings from wild birds into that area. Another tip that I use is to have dedicated clothes and shoes to use only when you're tending to your flock, and also washing hands frequently. If you don't have access to running water, you can use hand sanitizer to disinfect your hands before and after caring for birds. Also, equipment needs to be cleaned. So clean and disinfect any equipment and supplies before using that for caring for birds, as well as avoid sharing any tools or equipment between flocks or swapping birds between flocks, because that's a really good way to introduce the virus to a group of domestic poultry.
Take this one from social media, and it comes from Instagram. And the poster says that they live in a community that has a creek, and wild birds come into the residence yard. Is that what you're talking about, for them to be aware of wild birds, or is it safe?
Yes, that would not be safe for their pet chickens or their small backyard flock, for those birds to have contact with the wild birds that like to go to that creek. So those birds should be kept separate in a coop or an enclosed area, so that they can't go down to the creek and mingle with those birds, as well as take precautions from preventing those wild birds from entering the poultry area and being attracted by things like the food for the birds and the water sources. So you may have to have a net over the pen where the birds are kept to keep the wild birds out.
Okay. When you're talking about the bird flu, are we talking about the same bird flu that they think or say had originated in China, or are we talking about a different strain?
There are lots of different strains of avian influenza, and the strain that's causing the outbreak in the United States right now did originate from Europe and Asia, and so that crossed over back in 2021 into northern Canada, and then worked its way down the East Coast with the wild migratory birds, and then across the country. So we do see these viruses circulate all over the world with the wild migratory birds and their flyways.
Okay, and finally, if one does contract the bird flu, is there any antidote to it or vaccine or something like that?
There is no treatment once a chicken flock or a poultry flock is infected with avian influenza. Unfortunately, there's no cure for the disease, so we've really got to focus on preventing it in the first place.
Dr. Julie, this has been very eye-opening. I thought we were finished with that on the COVID and past that, but obviously not. Where can we get more information?
USDA's Defend the Flock program provides a lot of free tools and resources for practical biosecurity tips and making a plan to protect your flock. So if you type in Defend the Flock into your search bar in your browser, that should take you right to our website, where you can find a library of checklists, a biosecurity workbook. We've got videos, infographics, and webinar recordings that can help you protect your flock.
Good to there, because I know a lot of you guys have expressed to me that you have these backyard flocks because that became real popular during COVID. So you're going to need some help and some direction. And Dr. Julie has given us great information. Dr. Julie, thanks for stopping by the Valder Beebe Show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for talking with me today and helping me spread the word.
I'm Valder Beebe. I broadcast on radio, streaming TV, podcast, and in print publications. I interview the world's most fascinating authors, all because I love a good book. This summer, I partnered with WPS for Beebe's Summer Book Giveaway. We're giving away New York Times bestsellers and award-winning books. Books that inspire me, and I'm sure they'll inspire you. To be eligible to win a copy of Jesus Can Give You a New Life, answer this question: what is God's greatest gift to mankind? You'll find the answer in John 3:16 of the Bible. Send your response to the email at the bottom of the screen. I'm Valder Beebe, and I'll see you for the next Beebe Summer Book Giveaway.